From the team behind Activate, this is Activated, the show about what is actually changing in dealer marketing, and some shameless promo.
Today we're talking about what happens when the bots are not the enemy anymore.
It's a complete paradigm shift.
Exactly. I'm your host, and joined as always by our resident expert. And consider this. By 2027, more than half of the traffic on your public website will not have a heartbeat.
Yeah, which is just wild to think about.
It really is. So for you listening, today's deep dive mission is unpacking how AI agentic bots are, fundamentally rewiring internet traffic, and more importantly, how your dealership can actually use this massive shift to capture bottom-of-the-funnel buyers.
Yeah, we are completely moving past the era where a human just, sits in front of a screen to do their car shopping. We need to get straight into how that actually impacts the physical dealership floor.
I want to paint a picture for you listening, just to sort of visualize the scene we're dealing with here. Let's call it the completely invisible showroom. So imagine a family of 4 sitting around their kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon. They desperately need a new SUV, and they are locked in this debate between a Ford Explorer and a Chevrolet Tahoe.
Very common scenario.
And they are specifically trying to figure out which one is going to be better for the dad's 30-minute daily commute.
Yep. High-intent household.
Now, in the past, that dad would have opened his laptop, fired up, 10 different browser tabs, bounced around your site.
Visited 3 local competitors.
Exactly. Read car and driver reviews, checked pricing matrices, all of it. But today, he doesn't do any of that.
No, he really doesn't.
Instead, he pulls out his phone and just asks ChatGPT to do the heavy lifting. In a matter of seconds, the AI reads all the expert reviews, compares the pricing, checks the cargo space down to the cubic inch.
Which is incredible, by the way.
And it scans your local inventory for those specific models. And here is the crucial takeaway for you, the dealership operator. The human buyer never actually visited your homepage. The AI bot did all the browsing.
And the scale of this shift is just really difficult to overstate. If we look at the hard numbers from Stu Solomon...
Who is he again?
Oh, he's the CEO of Human Security. He noted that over 50% of all internet traffic right now is non-human.
Over half?
Over half. And agentic traffic specifically, meaning these AI bots acting directly on behalf of a person, like in your kitchen table scenario, that grew nearly 8,000% in a 6-month window.
Wow. 8,000%.
Yeah. And Matthew Prince, the CEO of Cloudflare, went on record stating that by 2027, bots will permanently exceed human traffic on the open web.
That is just, it's a totally different internet.
It is. Solomon has this quote that just perfectly frames this reality for retail. He said, consumer agent and merchant agent are talking to each other. Consumer human and merchant human are not.
Okay, hold on. I want to challenge this a bit because historically, whenever we talked about bots in the automotive space, our immediate instinct was to just block them. We thought of them as like malicious scrapers or junk traffic from click farms or, the competitor across town trying to scrape our pricing strategy.
Yeah, the old scraper bots.
So this idea of letting them roam around just feels completely counterintuitive.
Well, that reaction is totally understandable, right? Because we've been trained to view non-human traffic as a threat to our wallets. But we have to strictly clarify the nature of this new problem.
Okay, clarify it for us.
The immediate danger of this new wave of agentic bot traffic is not ad spend waste.
Not?
No. The bots aren't clicking on your paid search ads to drain your budget. The real critical danger here is the complete destruction of your analytics signal quality.
Meaning what exactly? Like, what happens when a GM opens their dashboard?
So if you let these AI bots flood directly into your standard reporting dashboards, the metrics you rely on to make business decisions simply break.
Because they don't act like humans.
Exactly. Bots process information entirely differently. So your bounce rates, they skew wildly out of proportion. Your average session time plummets to fractions of a second.
Because the bot reads the whole page instantly, right?
An AI agent can read and index an entire complex vehicle detail page in milliseconds, so the conversion math you use to measure ROI just shatters. You look at your data and assume your website is completely failing, but it isn't. It's just being read by software at software speed.
Okay, I think I have an analogy for this. Tell me if this tracks.
Let's hear it.
We essentially need to treat this digital infrastructure like a high-end casino. You have the casino floor, which is your public website, and you have the VIP room, which is your analytics dashboard.
I like where this is going.
We obviously need a bouncer to keep the bots out of the VIP room. We need bot filtering software applied to our analytics so we can keep our performance data clean, human, and accurate. But out on the casino floor, where the public website is and where the inventory lives. We have an entirely different reality. We must let those exact same bots roam completely freely out there.
That is the perfect framework for this. The bouncer isn't standing at the front doors of the building, turning the bots away at the server level. The bouncer is only guarding the analytics room.
Because if you block the front door,
If you panic and tell your IT team to just ban the bots from the casino floor entirely, you are blinding the AI,
if
right?
the AI agent is blocked from reading your inventory or checking your pricing, it literally cannot recommend your dealership to the dad sitting at the kitchen table. He'll just get recommended to the guy down the street who left his doors open. So you have to keep the VIP room data pristine while leaving the casino floor wide open for the AI to do its invisible research.
Which naturally leads to the core problem of this entire shift.
What's that?
Well, if the bot is out there doing all of the heavy lifting, processing vehicle detail pages invisibly on the casino floor, how does a dealership actually know when the real human takes the wheel?
Yeah, that is the million-dollar question right there.
Exactly.
Let's walk through a very specific scenario to show how this actually works in practice. I want to introduce you to Dave.
Okay, Dave.
Dave currently drives a 2019 Chevrolet Suburban. He is taking great care of it, but it is definitely getting up there in miles. And Dave has finally decided he is officially shopping for a Chevrolet Tahoe.
Makes sense. He knows what he likes. He's staying in the brand family, but he's moving to a slightly different footprint.
Exactly. So Dave uses his AI agent to do all the tedious legwork. The AI scours the open web, checks the local market, and surfaces a specific third-party marketplace listing for a local Tahoe right in Dave's area. The AI presents this to Dave. He looks at the recommendation, likes the specs, and he physically clicks the link.
And that millisecond, the exact moment of that click is where the fundamental shift in dealership strategy actually occurs. Because this isn't science fiction, right? This is standard, powerful software functioning exactly as intended. DealerX's ad tech captures behavioral intent on contextually relevant offsite properties.
Okay, let me pause you there because we just threw out some pretty dense industry phrases. To translate that for the listener, Dave was not on our dealership's actual homepage. He was on a completely separate third-party review blog or local marketplace. But because of how the software works, it still catches him raising his hand.
Precisely. The AI did all the wandering in the dark, but the click is the moment the human steps forward into the light. And following that intentional action, the click resolves to a real human profile inside DealerX's identity graph.
So to put that in plain English, that single, seemingly anonymous click on an off-site marketplace listing is suddenly recognized as Dave. He goes from being an invisible data point mixed in with thousands of bot queries to a known entity who is demonstrating pure shopping intent. We know it is Dave, and we know he wants a Tahoe.
The resolution layer isolates that pure human moment amidst the sea of bot-driven research. You now have a clean, verified profile of a person actively looking to buy a vehicle in your market.
Okay, but having a name on a screen doesn't sell a car.
No, it doesn't.
Now that DealerX's resolution layer, Activate, has handed us this identified human profile for Dave, where does that intent signal actually go? How do we put a message in front of him to influence his purchase?
Well, that intent feeds directly into the activation layer, and there are 3 specific channels DealerX uses to activate this intent and reach Dave effectively.
Okay, let's break those down. What's the first one?
The first channel is Google Agentic Retargeting.
Got it.
This is a dedicated DealerX product that takes Dave's newly resolved identity and runs highly targeted campaigns directly on Google properties. Historically, search marketing relied on guessing broad keywords and hoping the right person searched them, right?
The old spray and pray.
Exactly. With this, you are bypassing the guesswork and reaching an identified buyer based on verified intent.
That removes a massive amount of wasted effort. You aren't bidding on, SUVs near me and just hoping for the best.
Exactly. The second channel is Meta Agentic Retargeting. This is another DealerX product utilizing the exact same resolved intent, but this time to run precision campaigns on Meta's social platforms.
Social media.
Later that day, when Dave is sitting on his couch scrolling through his feeds, you are putting the exact Tahoe he was just researching via AI right in his timeline.
Oh, wow. It creates a surround sound effect for the buyer.
It really does.
But what if Dave isn't actively searching on Google or scrolling through social media at that moment? How do we reach him then?
That is where the third channel comes into play. The DealerX DSP, this is DealerX's own demand-side platform. It activates the exact same resolved audience programmatically across the open web.
I see.
So if agentic retargeting misses him on social media or search, the DSP catches him while he is reading a local news site, checking a sports blog, or looking at the weather.
Just to summarize this incredibly powerful toolkit for the operator listening, all three of these channels, the agentic retargeting on search, the agentic retargeting on social, and the programmatic DSP, they're all DealerX products, and they are built entirely on DealerX's identity graph. They work together seamlessly to turn that single offsite click into a cohesive, surrounding campaign that finds Dave wherever he happens to be online.
Exactly. And if we pull back and connect this digital infrastructure to the bigger picture, this resolution fundamentally changes the physical reality of the dealership floor. We are talking about moving completely away from playing passive defense against bots, where our only goal is trying to filter them out, and moving into a highly anticipatory offensive posture.
The digital suddenly becomes very physical.
It doesn't.
How does this play out for the staff actually working in the building?
Well, let's look at your business development center. Traditionally, a BDC spends their morning calling cold, generic lists of quote-unquote website visitors, right? They have no real context. They don't know if the person was casually browsing for a school project or actively looking to buy today. It is a grueling, low-conversion process. But with this activation layer, that outreach fundamentally changes. They receive a ranked list of identified profiles demonstrating active market intent. No guessing at all. They know exactly who is in the market, they know it's Dave, and they know exactly what vehicle he is looking at.
That changes the entire tenor of the phone call. You aren't an annoying salesperson interrupting their day. You are a highly relevant concierge providing a service they actually need.
Perfectly said.
But this offensive posture doesn't just stop at the BDC, does it?
Not at all.
Let's bring Dave back into the story for a second appearance to really drive this home. Let's say a few days after that whole AI research session and clicking on the Tahoe listing. Dave brings his 2019 Chevrolet Suburban into your dealership for a routine oil change.
A very standard, everyday service appointment.
Exactly. We all know how this usually goes. He pulls into the service drive, hands over the keys, and the service writer treats it like a standard low-margin oil change. Maybe they try a clumsy blind upsell that Dave shoots down immediately because he just wants to get to work. But in this new reality, because his off-site click resolved his identity earlier in the week, Activate immediately triggers a service lane intent alert.
And suddenly the information asymmetry in the service drive completely flips in the dealership's favor.
I love how you phrase that because it's so true. Let's slow down and look at what happens here. The service writer knows, before Dave even opens his car door, that he is an active bottom-of-the-funnel buyer looking for a Tahoe. He holds all the cards based on an invisible AI search Dave did days ago. So instead of just checking his oil and pointing him to the waiting room coffee, this low-margin service ticket instantly transforms into a highly informed conversation. The service writer can walk up and say, "Hey, Dave, notice you're still driving the 2019 Suburban. We actually desperately need those on trade right now for our used lot. And we just got a few new Tahoes in this week. Do you want to take one for a spin while we finish up your oil change?"
What's fascinating here is the actual mechanics of that interaction. You are converting an existing service customer into a new vehicle sale by utilizing off-site intent data that they generated days prior. The AI did the heavy lifting, the click resolved the identity, and your team on the floor was ready to act on it the exact second Dave arrived physically at the dealership.
That is the ultimate definition of playing offense. You are miles ahead of the buyer's expectations. So, if I am a dealership principal or a GM listening to us right now, my head is probably spinning a bit.
I would imagine so.
How do I actually operationalize this massive digital shift today?
Well, we have a very clear three-step playbook that dealership operators need to implement right away to get ahead of this.
Okay, what's step one?
Step one is having a very direct, potentially uncomfortable conversation with your current marketing vendor about their policy on AI agent traffic.
Uncomfortable how?
You need to ask them point blank how they're handling this influx. If they tell you they are just filtering all the bots out to keep your reports clean, that is a massive red flag.
Why?
Because that means you are completely invisible to the AI demand. The bots cannot read your inventory, so you cannot be recommended to the buyer.
Oh, right. To use our analogy, they lock the bouncer on the casino floor and shut the whole place down.
Precisely. But on the flip side, if the vendor tells you they are just letting all the bots in everywhere, that is equally disastrous because of the VIP room. That means they are destroying your analytics, polluting your data with non-human behavior, and skewing your performance metrics. The only correct viable answer they can give you is that they are resolving identity at the click.
So step 1 is interrogating your vendor. If a GM survives that conversation, what is step 2? Do we need to look at our own numbers?
Yes. Step 2 is conducting an internal audit of your own analytics. You need to sit down and compare the human-only view of your web traffic against the everything-included raw traffic view.
What are they going to see?
When you look at those two dashboards side by side, the disparity is going to be incredibly revealing. You will immediately spot the high-speed invisible research that the AI is doing right under your nose.
Seeing that gap in the data is going to be terrifying for some operators. But, it makes the invisible completely visible. Once they stop panicking over the raw traffic numbers, what is the final step?
Step 3 is a straightforward technical check. You need to ensure your website is genuinely accessible to these agents.
How do they do that?
Have your IT team or your web provider review the site's robots.txt file. You have to ensure that someone hasn't placed a blanket block on legitimate AI bots like GPT-bot, Claude-bot, or Perplexity-bot.
If they have?
If those bots are blocked at the server level, your inventory simply does not exist in the new AI-mediated shopping journey.
You literally take yourself out of the running before the race even starts. Let me ask you this as a final thought. Think about the competition. What does this mean for the dealership down the street who completely ignores this playbook? The guy who just keeps operating like it's 2019, buying broad keywords and calling cold web leads.
It is going to be a very painful awakening for them. They will spend the next 2 years staring at entirely broken dashboards trying to make sense of bounce rates that defy logic. They will watch their market share steadily evaporate without understanding why, and they will likely blame the wrong vendors for their declining performance. They will be completely oblivious to the actual game being played around them, essentially fighting a war that ended years ago.
They will be invisible to the very tools their customers are using to make decisions.
Which brings us to the reality of the timeline we are facing here. This isn't some futurist prediction for a decade from now. In just 24 months, bot traffic will definitively cross over human traffic on the open web. The dealers who set up their identity infrastructure correctly this year are going to spend next year capturing pure intent and feeding their agentic retargeting audiences in ways their competitors simply cannot replicate.
The bots are not the buyers. They are the buyer's highly efficient research team.
The human buyer still shows up. The dealers who set up identity resolution this year will be the ones waiting at the door to capture their click.
Thanks for joining us. This has been Activated, brought to you by DealerX. We will see you next time.